What's up, beautiful PHP family? Welcome back to another live stream. And today will be an awesome live stream. Before we jump into that, what's up, everyone? Beltix official, nice to see you. Fabio, Ashley, Axely, Body Show 5151 from Catalonia, nice to see you, dude. PHP annotated. Let's smash that like button. Indeed. Eddie, nice to see you. Days 85, what's up, dude? John Sugar, Charlie French boy. What's up, everyone on TikTok? Is it an emergency? Fuck yeah, it's an emergency. Every time we talk about PHP, it's better be a good emergency. F. Barento, nice to see you. El Poo, Revere, what's up, dude? Nice to see you. Thanks for saying hi and being one of the very first ones. Nice to see you all, chat. Today we have an awesome live stream, okay? We are going to discuss the best practices in Laravel apps. And for that, we have the mighty Brent Rose. Brent, what's up, dude? Nice to see you, and thanks for coming once again, man.
Hey, Nuno. Hi, folks. It's good to be here. It's my second stream today, so I'm already warmed up, you know.
He's warmed up. He's warmed up.
Yeah.
By the way, if you don't follow Brand's channel, Brand, can you mind of sharing your YouTube channel?
He already said it. It's PHP annotated. I left that smashing the like button message.
Here we go. PHP annotated. Be sure to follow that channel. Great content over there. So let's do that. Let's give him a follow as well. And follow his streams. PHP Annotate has been streaming pretty much every single day since last week, right?
Yeah. It's the last 2 weeks before my Christmas holiday. So I'm making use of the time to just continue to stream, and I'm having a good time there. So.
Absolutely. Brand, you are the author of one of the best books out there. Call it Laravel Beyond CRUD, I'm sorry.
Beyond CRUD. Oh, that's such a... Yeah. It's been a while.
It's been a while, but you have built large maintainable applications, I assume, in the past, and you still do. So I am building currently Laravel apps at Laravel, but I have built huge stuff like Laravel Cloud, for example, and I've worked on Laravel Vapor as well. So I have accumulated over the years several practices that I truly believe to be good while maintaining large Laravel applications. And this knowledge that I have acquired over the years, it's not come from books or theory. It comes from actual real-world pain, which is the best one, okay? And I think for you is the same thing. So I thought about today, we spend the next hour or so, where I will show you some of the best practices I think are best practices, and you let me know what you think about that, okay?
My voice gets fixed, but you know that real world pain that you're talking about, Nuno.
Mm-hmm.
That is where the valuable lessons are. And actually, when we're talking about Laravel Beyond CRUD, which is a small book that I wrote at Spatie when I worked at Spatie, I think it was 5 years ago, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And these were just the lessons, the real world lessons that I learned when working in what I used to call larger than average Laravel projects. And, you just go through the motions, you deal with the pain, and afterwards you come out and you've learned like valuable stuff. And I decided to write all of that down and share it with the community. And there we are. It was a really, really popular book when it was released. Super proud of that. So yeah, I mean, there is, I'm happy to be your sidekick here and see whatever you came up with over the years.
Yeah, I have a few things to talk about today. We are going to walk through migrations, models, controllers, actions, and pretty much every single layer that a Laravel app can have. Before we jump into that, I want everyone on YouTube telling us if the live stream is okay, if voice of Brent is okay, if my voice is okay, if the volume is right. Let me know on the chat so we can be sure we can start this on the good path today, okay? A couple of people on YouTube saying that everything is okay regarding the voice, but on Twitch we have a few people saying that Brent may have a robo voice, so we want to start with a good pace here. So seems that Brent had some microphone issues, but now is okay. Well, that's a good thing.
Okay.
That's a good thing. How about everyone else? Correct. The live stream will be on my YouTube channel afterwards, okay, Dylan? So, apparently everything is okay. Okay?
Okay.
Pretend everything is okay. Before we jump into today's content, let's say thanks to our sponsors, and Brent, you might know a few of them. The first one
Okay.
is Redberry International, the best digital agency out there for building Laravel and Vue apps. Check them out if you haven't already. The second one is Native PHP, the best way of developing mobile applications using PHP. Brent, I have used it, Native PHP. Is legit, like actually super good, and I did a full live stream on the topic, and they're
I saw
absolutely
that, yeah.
they are literally cracking this space with the PHP world, and actually it just feels super good to see brave people like them. Titan, of course, one of the best digital agencies out there as well, doing Laravel and React, but they also rescue development teams. Check them out. JetBrains, the company behind the PHP Storm editor, the best editor in the planet. Check them out if you haven't already. I'm using PHP Storm, and I think that everyone here agrees that PHP Storm is the best editor, including Brent.
Yeah.
Laracast.com, the best place to learn Laravel in modern web development. I have literally learned everything I knew from Laracast. Check them out if you haven't already. Code Rabbit, the best AI software doing AI reviews through pull requests. I'm using it in my all open source projects. If you are not, what the heck are you doing in Devin AI if you want to offload some tasks to AI? It's literally a software engineer with an AI mask on top of it. They are absolutely awesome. Check them out. Again, today we are doing an emergency live stream about Laravel best practices with Brent Rose. And we are going to get started, chat. I hope you guys are excited. I am super excited. Let me know what you guys are. Brent, I want to kind of talk to you about one of the two things I do on migrations that sometimes are controversial, okay? So, two things I always do in my migrations. Well, actually three. And I think the third one, everyone agree with this, which is I don't use the done method. What do you think about the done method in general?
Yeah. We don't need the down method. No. No. The problem with the down method is that it works in development environments. It might sometimes work, but as soon as you're dealing with real data, time only moves forward, right?
Yeah.
So trying to revert your database schema when things already changed when it comes to data, that's not a really good idea. That's the most stupid idea you can have, actually. Only move forward. So if you made a mistake in your migrations, just make a new migration to fix it. Don't bother trying to use the down method. Now, I heard people say they like the down method because they use it during development. So they make a new feature and they add a couple more migrations, right? And they want to quickly restore the database and then migrate down, migrate up again so that they get a I use migrations because when I'm during local development, I just always start from scratch.
You migrate fresh, yeah.
Yeah, I migrate fresh, yeah. And then I use seeders to fill the database to the state I want to. And I feel that's just a more scalable approach. It takes a little more time to rebuild your whole database. That's true. There are actually ways around that. You could have snapshots of your database. I know we did it at Spatie at one point where we started from a snapshot and restored that and then ran our sometimes running into foreign key constraints, stuff like that didn't work out anymore. So yeah, I don't know. It's good to see it that you're not using down migrate. Where is your down method actually? Oh, you don't need to.
There is no down method actually, so I don't have
Okay.
any single down method here. I think in general, down methods are just a waste of time in the sense that you are just writing code that first of all you won't use it because the down methods are only when you have problems, which you typically don't. So if you are introducing code in your project, you need to test it. And testing migration is not always obvious, especially when you're dealing with millions of records. And I find myself never using the done method, like literally. So if I don't use the done method either for development but also in production, we just don't need it. It's a waste of time. And again, when dealing with production data that is only moving forward, it's just a waste of time to just have a done method that you don't actually use, in my opinion. Okay. It's just crazy that the mic issues on Brent's side. I don't get it, dude.
I don't know. It might be a tuple thing. I just changed the setting there to not suppress background noise. Maybe that's better. I don't know.
Yeah, let me know, chat, if Brandy's
Yeah.
audio looks okay now. I think the done method is commonly accepted as being a bad thing, and I don't think people are using it anymore. I kind of wish that in Laravel, the done method was just not present on migrations, because I don't feel people actually rely on it. You know what I mean? But
Can
there's
I
all
can I
yeah.
share a bit? Like, it's been a while since I
Okay.
know what I did there. Instead of having one migration class or interface, I just have a migrate up and a migrate down interface, two separate ones.
Oh,
And
okay.
you can opt into the down one if you really need to, but if you don't, then
Okay.
it's fine. Yeah.
So let's. Okay, I don't get it. I think we need to fix this sound situation. Yeah, chat. We are going to fix this sound situation. Okay,
Yeah.
so Brent, I think I'm gonna call you on another software. Okay.
Okay, cool. That's
Okay.
fine.
Chat, just confirm with me that the only issue is Brent is audio and not my audio. Okay.
I'm sorry. Excuse me. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
If it's Brent is audio, I'm gonna fix this in the second. Chat, just wait 1 minute on that side. All right. I'll be back in a second. We are back, but I will have to adjust a little bit things here. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove my webcam. Bam, that's gone. And the second thing I'm going to do is actually add a new source, which will be a Mac screen capture. Add source, and this will be a new source instead. This will be Chrome. Add source. And I think this needs to be application capture, Google Chrome, and done. And finally, I need to stretch to screen. Shit, let me know if this is okay. Let me know if you can hear Brent. Brent, can you just scream a little bit so people can hear you?
Should I scream? I hope this works fine. It actually looks.
Yeah, I do need to adjust. Deeper is not catching you for some reason. Same problem. Relax a little bit. Brent, can you talk a little bit more? Okay.
But
All right, go again, Brent. I'm still adjusting the sound a little bit.
it's still
Yeah,
it's
I know. That was my fault. I know, chat. It will be back in a second.
is it better now?
Maybe. That's what we're going to find out in a second. So there is some delay in the stream. Okay, it works
Yeah.
now, apparently.
Okay.
Next stream, Nuno builds a Streamlabs replacement. All right, chat. Everyone tell me if our sound is okay at the minute. Now it works. Everyone is saying it's okay. So hopefully,
It works. Great.
hopefully I can delete Deeper as well because it's super problematic. Okay, chat. Brent, just keep talking a little bit so we can see this.
Yeah,
this is
sure. But was the problem on my end or your end, Nuno? And the only thing I keep seeing is like view numbers just are like we're getting more and more viewers despite the
Really?
technical
People love problems. People love
yeah,
problems.
They're just like seeing us.
Yeah. People love problems. It's crazy. All right, Chad. We were just discussing best practices in Laravel apps, and one of the things we discussed was about the down method, which we all agree that down methods are a waste of time. Type in the chat if you agree with us that down methods are to throw in the trash, and we just move forward as a team, as PHP developers, okay? That being said, Brent, the next one I'm going to tell you will be super controversial. Okay? So I don't like foreign keys. And I'm going to explain you why I don't like foreign keys. Not foreign keys, sorry. Cascade deletes. Jesus Christ. I love foreign keys.
Okay.
Yeah, I love foreign keys. I love foreign keys because I think foreign keys bring consistency, but most importantly, ensure consistency on the database state. Meaning that we are sure that, for example, one user can only have one particular thing, but that thing always exists. But cascade deletes are a little bit dangerous because I feel like I'm giving the responsibility of deleting leftover records to the database, and that scares me a little bit. The last thing I want is by mistake deleting something on the app side, and that thing will just cascade down things that it shouldn't. Okay, so that scared the shit out of me in general. So I always avoid cascade deletes. And what do I do to mitigate that? Is that I don't have cascade deletes. So on my action, things like delete user, what do I do is that I chain other actions to delete all the data of the user before I actually do the transaction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's just, as a real example, let's say a user have articles have images. What do I do within the delete user is that I'm going to start by deleting one article individual, one by one, and those articles will delete all its respective images as well. So TLDR, I always keep the logic on the app side, and I keep the least as possible on the database side. Only the one that ensures consistency on the database. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And I'm just thinking about it while you were saying it. Did I actually ever cascade, like configure migrations to cascade? And I don't think I do this either, because you have to do it like on purpose. By default, it's off, right? If I'm not mistaken, I think that used to be the case. So there is one side note to make, and I'm curious, like if you've run into this, if you have records relations with like thousands or millions of entries, then you have to load all of that in memory to delete them one by one, and you'll chunk that, and I mean you'll have to take a little bit more care of performance there.
So I think, like in general, what I like to do is avoid cascade deletes, but sometimes, depending of the use case, I may keep it. You know what I mean? It really depends against performance reasons is one a good example. You know what I mean?
Sorry, I was also just seeing now. Ashley mentioned that my microphone sounds great, so I'm glad that now that the sound issues are solved, that I'm getting some compliments now. So thank you for that. Yeah, but it's I think it's always, especially at scale, Nuno, to do things consciously, even if it like takes a bit more time. It's not about getting to a result as fast as possible. It's to get there in a correct way without any unforeseen side effects. So I think it makes sense that you do this. Maybe in small apps you would be fine just cascading and whatever, but yeah, giving some careful thought about what will happen when I delete something is actually something you should always do when you're building apps at scale. You cannot just assume, oh, it will be fine. So yeah, I think I agree with you.
By the way, chat, we have more than 100 people on YouTube at the moment, but less than 50 likes, which is unacceptable, okay? So YouTube...
Come on, folks.
Exactly. YouTube people, go all the way down. There is like literally a like button. You just click on it, all right? You click on it and we spread the PHP knowledge with the world. We want to make all those JavaScript developers looking at us and look how cool we are, okay? By the way, before we move forward, Maltroy, thank you so much for the subscription on Prime for 11 months already. What else we have? Boop, 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 boop. That's it. Smash that like button indeed. What do you think about defaults on migrations, Brent?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So for me, it comes in the same logic where if I'm creating a new table, I want the defaults of that table to be specified on my action, in the sense that I want to go to the action and see like what is the logic that is being inserted on that database row. And the last thing I want, in my opinion, is if I were to change the default, I would have to do a new migration. It just scares me a little bit. You know what I mean? I would have to actually change the default in the database type. So it comes with the same logic where I feel like defaults should always be in actions as well. So unless you are changing existing state on the database, which you just have to go with the default, even though you can do default 0, apply the migration, then do another migration to remove the default, which which is a little bit overkill in my opinion as well. But defaults in general are a no for me as well.
So, but hang on, because I think I don't really understand. Like, what do you do when you add a new column
Exactly.
to an existing table? But then you do the 2 steps, right? Is that what you were saying?
Correct. So if I were to have a table, for example, let's say now we want to have a views count. You know what I mean? So let's say article. Well, the views count is actually maybe not the best example ever because it will always be 0 by default. But let's say like you may want to change that default for a second. So what I would do here is that I would type integer views count. And if this table were to be new, I wouldn't have any default, meaning that the views count equals to 0 would be specified on my action, call it create article. But if I'm applying a new migration to an existing table, I would default to 0. And what you can do afterwards is remove this default as well if you wanted to. I don't think it's like super important, but you can do it as well.
I wonder if there is some kind of mode that you can put your database into. Like you can also temporarily disable foreign key checks, for example, and then enable them again. Maybe there's something you could do with default values that you don't have to assign the default value and then remove it again. But I mean, this works fine. This works fine.
Yeah, so those are the 2 things that I always do. I wonder if you have anything else that you think is like up to debate here.
I was wondering, aren't there any foreign keys now? Because I see you have a UID there.
Oh,
Sorry,
this is the default structure of Laravel. So I don't actually have any example here with.
Okay, but you are.
But I always use use foreign keys. I think it's just literally our last safe of defense to ensure consistency. So they are super important.
Performance as well. So,
oh, absolutely. I want to show you my model, dude. I have so many opinions on models that I want to show you this stuff. Okay.
Okay, I do as well. Yeah.
You also do? Okay. Chat, let me know, by the way, what do you think about being super strict on models and being super explicit as well. I want to start with the property reads that I always type on top of my models. So, Brent, something I do is make sure that every single column that can be accessed through my models, it's fully type safe through property reads. What do you think about this in general?
Yes. I personally, if it was totally up to me, and I know it's not, but I would have just typed properties in the PHP class. But I know that's not possible with how Eloquent is designed. But that's what I would do, so that you don't have to add these doc blocks. But yeah, I think the doc blocks are a really good way to get around that within Eloquent. That's just I don't think people understand enough how much value just types and the strict type system brings.
Oh, it's crazy.
And this is something that you cannot explain. I wrote, I think, 10 blog posts up until this point about why strict typing and static analysis is such a lifesaver, and especially for code bases at scale, it just makes so much difference. but people who are not used to that
Yeah.
style of coding have a very difficult time understanding why. And it takes a lot of context and just a lot of experience as well with such systems to understand how much
Yeah.
value it brings.
I like to
So
say
yeah,
that
I'm totally with you here.
yeah, I like to say that people who don't like typed code bases never use a good type system. Like they actually never used a PHP stem properly or
Yeah,
type
yeah.
safety properly, because
Mm.
the value is so immediately obvious that it's just like for me, like imagine that you are changing a database column where the
Yeah,
name does not
yeah.
exist anymore, for example,
Mm.
and you have another piece in your code base which is far away from this one that does something like this, and this will throw an error on PHP stand. For me, it's just way too obvious why this is important. But I do know for a
Before you run your code, by the way.
exactly.
That's the big value. So Adrian's saying here in YouTube chat that dog blocks are a lie, which in a way yes, but in a way also no, because what is a type system? And this is really a philosophical debate about what makes a programming language. But I would say PHP's type system, and I've said this many times before. People don't agree. Some people do agree, but runtime type checks add very little value overall. So even though we have runtime types in
Yeah.
PHP, if they fail, you're already running your code. The whole point is getting these static insights before running your
Yep.
code. And then whether it's via dog blocks or types, I prefer whatever is possible to write in PHP because it's a little bit cleaner.
Yep.
And it's actually consistent because different static analyzers have slightly different details differing between them. As someone working for JetBrains at PHP Storm, I can tell you static analysis is a very tricky topic in PHP, and I wish there was some kind of consensus there.
Yep.
We tried a couple of years ago to actually come up with a working group to bring all static analyzers in the PHP community together. That didn't work out, unfortunately. So, okay, dog blocks are, yes, a lie, but when you use the static analyzer, they are very much the source of truth.
Just by
Go
the way,
ahead, go ahead.
Brent, I absolutely love to just be on stream with you. Okay, like you are so on my brain at the minute. It is kind of crazy shit. By the way, can we all agree that Brent is absolutely goat here? You are so on my brain. Like, why the fuck people type their code if they don't use PHP stand? It's just a
Yeah.
waste of fucking time. Like the code will be broken in production regardless. So if you use array types and string types and return types, you might as well use PHP stand. So otherwise, why are you even doing that? Like the code will be broken in production regardless. It is just insane. I agree so much with you. And yeah.
By the way, if you're not using PHP Stan yet, don't be afraid of like getting into it. You can really ease into it for your project. You can create a baseline so that you're not greeted with thousands and thousands of errors to start with. You can start from a clean slate and then work from there. And you can increase the level of PHP Stan, the strictness over time. It goes from 1 to 9, I think, is now the highest level.
Which we can also debate, by the way. Like I have numerous reports of people saying that PHP stand level 9 is too much. And I want to discuss that with you. Before we dive into that, how many people do we have on YouTube at the minute? We have this awesome number of 130 people on YouTube. YouTube people, go all the way down and click on that like button. I would really appreciate that if you guys could do that. Brent, I want to ask you, PHP stand level 9, what do you think about that?
I think it's too much, and here's why. Because PHP by nature is still a dynamic language, and there are some features that you're okay with doing at runtime and saying like, okay, yeah, I can deal with this. There are some cases where it's okay, and having PHP stand then block you for those is like, okay, maybe that's taking it a step too far. We're still kind of staying true to PHP as well, and not just going full out and making it into Rust or something.
I'm going to tell you a good example that annoys me a little bit, which I don't know yet if it's a problem of Laravel or is a problem of PHP stand, is, for example, when I'm fetching the current user from the request layer, and I do know for a fact that the user will be a user instance because this is under auth middleware.
Yeah.
You know, and what you have to do with PHP stand at the minute is that you need to insert that user is instead
Yeah.
of user to move forward to effectively have type safety. And I think that this is a waste of time. You know, so I am going to say that what I'm happy to say that PHP stand level 6, 7
Yeah. Agree.
is just in the perfect like level for web applications in Laravel and PHP. I want everyone in the chat on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Kik, TikTok to write on the chat which PHP stand level you think is the best. Okay, type 6, 7, whatever you think is the best. I think like for web apps, 6, 7 is way more than enough. For packages, though, I go max. Package development, and I know on Tempest PHP, what do you use?
I was just looking up. I think it's 5 actually.
5. Okay.
Let me see. Yeah, it's 5. It's 5. And this is something we when we started doing it, we started from the get-go with PHP Stan. And we noticed that 6 just got a little bit too much in our way. At one point we said, okay, we do need to upgrade to 6, but it's also one of these things that it doesn't offer slightly enough value. Like
Yeah.
now I have to admit, Nuno, what we're currently looking at is I don't know if you heard of this. It's a tool called Mago. Yeah, I think you did because you did a video about it, right?
Yeah, I know Mago.
And they are also making a static analyzer written in Rust for PHP. And Mago is like a whole CI quality assurance tool. It does linting, formatting, but static analysis is now also part of it. It's super fast, but it doesn't there's still some work to be done. I just tried it out yesterday on Tempest, and I think we got 5,000 issues. 3,000 of those were false positives. So we're very closely working together with Ajesh to fix those. Well, very closely. He's doing all the work, but I'm just saying, hey, it doesn't work, and then he jumps on it.
I think Mago is one of those projects that it's like 90% done, and now they need 90% to be done. You know.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Once you can be good with PHP stand static and with PHP static analysis, it's worth nothing if you're not good with PHP stand with static analysis on Laravel, WordPress, Drupal, you know, in all these frameworks, they have so many magic. Like the only reason why PHP stand is doable on Laravel is because of Larastan. If it wasn't for Larastan, PHP stand would be useless on Laravel because it wouldn't understand shit unless you would use level 1 or 2, you know. So I think like it's common sense here today that 5, 6 is probably a very good level to be with PHP stand on web applications. Can we seal this one, chat? What do you guys think on the chat? What do you guys think?
I saw some 5s here, some 6. Some people saying 8 or 9. 5 again. Oh, Ashley's doing 5. That's good. Ashley also mentioned that besides that developers are a lie as well and not just dog blocks. So thank you for that, Ashley. I'll go into my existential crisis now. And
All right, so let's go back to the topic of the live stream because we dived into PHP type system too early today. Let's go back into the user model.
Sorry, this is what happens with me, Nuno. On stream.
No.
Any chance I get, I'll go on babbling about PHP's type system.
Dude, honestly, I could chat with you all day, man. On this kind of stuff, like on PHP geek stuff, I could chat with you all day. And I told you, like, we had in mind migrations, models, actions, controllers from requests XYZ. We are only on the beginning of models, and we are literally 35 minutes in.
Oh no, I do have some more time, by the way. I can go until 3:30 for me. So
I think what we should do, Brent, I'm gonna be honest, is that if the live stream reaches, let me see, we have 87 likes. If the live stream reaches like 200 likes before the end of the live stream, we do a part 2 of this shit. If you are up for it. If you are up for it.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay.
So let's take our time, and these likes will come. So yeah. By the way, Nuno, just before you go to the next one, can I just share my appreciation? And I know everyone in chat will agree with this as well. I see the most beautiful thing over here that is possible in PHP. It's such a small word, but with such a
Oh no.
like big value. There we have it. Final classes. This is the way to go, folks. It's the only way. Please do it. And I'm so happy, Nuno, because I know so many people disagree with both you and me. But this is a rabbit hole to dive into. Let's
Okay.
maybe not do that right now.
No,
But
no, no, no,
thank
no,
you-
no.
thank
Let's
you
do
for
it.
that.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm down. I'm down to discuss final read-only classes, like both actually. Do you want to start with the easiest one, like read-only classes? I think that's probably the easiest one to justify.
Yeah, but I think read only, like mutable data
Mhm.
actually only makes sense in a very small amount of edge cases. And if clone width in P3 8.5, which we covered last time, actually worked properly with read only, we could make everything read only, I think. And we like having classes whose internal state cannot change anymore. It eliminates so much unforeseen consequences because objects are passed by reference in PHP. So you
Yeah.
always, if you change something here, it can change something over there that you didn't account for. And so that's why I like read only. And with final, the thing with final, Nuno, is, and people need to understand it, is that final is great, but final requires you to write code in a specific way. And people who are against final are not really used to doing that. And this is like, I did a 1 hour video about this on my channel, Nuno, a year ago or something.
Okay.
So I don't want to dive too deep into the topic, but if you embrace final will basically force you to write code in a way that I at least find a lot more easy to reason about, because it forces you to not have these deep dependency chains. It forces you to think about using interfaces, to rely on the container in many cases. It's such a great tool, and I think, to be honest, I think classes should be final by default. Do you know which language does that?
Kotlin.
Kotlin. You write class update user, it's final. If you want to be able to extend it, you add a keyword. I think in Kotlin it's open or something like that. You actually have to, and this is just great design. I mean, there are 3 modern languages, it's Rust, Go, and Kotlin, that I think look at the old generation and do it better. Kotlin has final by default. Rust and Go don't really have inheritance, classic inheritance, as we have in C style languages. So I think there's something to say there. That the way we're doing inheritance and relying on extending from abstract classes or even extending from concrete classes, please never do that. But I think there is something to say there. Now, maybe also a topic for another live stream to dive into.
So I think I think like there is multiple things to say here. So I think, like, first of all, having the final keyword or not does not mean that you are respecting those rules. That you are not respecting those rules, meaning that I could not use final keyword and still follow the rules that you just mentioned, meaning that composition by instead of inheritance, not relying on inheritance at all. So, and I think like many of the people who are against the final keyword actually still code by the books, like Kotlin or like Rust or Go. So they use composition by default. However, I think many of the arguments against the final keyword are like, why do we need this extra boilerplate on the class if we are going to respect that rule anyways? You know what I mean? And I think that's the main discussion about final keywords. Although on web apps, while I don't see the value that much on using the final keyword, on packages I do. Meaning that when I'm working on packages, the entire internals of my source code are potentially up to importation on the web apps, you know?
Yeah.
So I want to kind of hide as much as possible or prevent as much as possible that people rely on the internals of my code. So I'm going to make everything final, read-only, internal, hopefully not even allowing people to import things as much as possible. Because when I want to do a major version, I don't want to think about like what the heck people are doing. Okay. What?
Yes.
Okay.
Just preach it, Nuno. Go.
Yeah. So that's my opinion on the final keyword. Like on web projects, meaning that internal projects, I don't see as much value on it because I'm going to respect composition by instead of inheritance by default anyways.
Yeah.
On packages is an absolutely must have, like in my opinion.
Yes, yes. I mean, I, when I worked at Spatie, we were doing I think 300 packages for Laravel and PHP. We didn't do final, and people did the weirdest things
Oh,
with
I
our
know.
code because
Yep.
we actually promoted this at Spatie. I was against it. Frake was for it. So we had fun little discussions about this. We can disagree. Except at the end of the day, I'm right. But people think that extending is like, oh yeah, this is just a way to make things configurable, and
Yeah.
and it's such a bad way of doing this. As soon as you understand that, properly use composition, code against interfaces, things just go so much more smoothly, are so much easier to reason about. But
Dude,
yeah.
the chat is literally saying, "Oh, by the way, just use the unfinal package, which just will remove final keywords." Come on, Adrian. I don't know why Adrian is so against me today. Like the dude is always like in favor of everything. Not today. Not today. Oh my god. Sometimes it makes mocking harder. The thing you shouldn't be mocks. You shouldn't be using mocks to begin with. That's why. Like if you have to use mocks, that's a problem of design of the package.
Yes, yes. You're saying exactly what I want to say.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you have to mock, it's a problem of design of the package. So, anyways, back to the models, dude. Back to the models here. So,
Yes.
I assume you use generics as well
Yes.
on PHP annotations in general, right?
Yeah.
And generics is such a thing that I think everyone agrees that we just need this in PHP. Just it's 2025 and we still don't have generics, and it makes me a little bit sad. I'm gonna be honest with you, Brian. I would expect at this point we have generics.
Yeah, no, but it's not gonna happen. I feel because the people, most internals for now at least, are still convinced that they want runtime generics, and runtime generics bring performance issues. They also bring compatibility issues because if one part of your code relies on generics and then you want to use that code in a place that doesn't rely on generics, and it might get messy.
Oh my god!
Runtime stuff.
Look at this beauty.
And all of this is solved. Nuno, I've been saying this for 5 years now. I think I did the very first video on my YouTube channel was about the second video on my YouTube channel was about generics and why they're not coming in PHP. The problem with that, the only thing that people that use generics today, because they're already in PHP, they're in doc blocks, the only thing we want is better syntax.
Yeah.
We don't want any runtime checks because generics, now listen to me, generics aren't a runtime tool. They are used for static analysis. But people, and the problem there, Nuno, is that PHP 7 got a type system for the first time, and they decided to implement it
runtime. Yeah, that was a huge problem.
Kind of at that time it made sense. That's more than 10 years ago. I mean, we didn't have static analyzers, so okay, but today, more than 10 years later, we have beautiful static analysis tools. And the only thing we need two things. We need proper syntax, because I don't like doc blocks. They are just too verbose, but okay, they do the job. But what we also need is just PHP as a project, as an authority saying this is what generics should do and should not do. Mm-hmm. Because I can tell you for PHP Storm, I just went through a list of our bug tracker. I think it was 200 or 300 issues related to generics.
Yeah.
Edge cases that don't work in PHP Storm, and the valid problems there. All of these problems wouldn't be a problem to begin with if there was just a proper spec drafted by PHP core. I don't know, some kind of organization or group of people that decide this is how generics work in PHP, and just all static analyzers just implement it.
What I think PHP should do is start with baby steps on generics, like Go have done. Like the Golang, first of all, started with baby steps on generics, and I think like on the topic of type safety, PHP is the only language in the world I think that implements runtime type checking, meaning that Python does not do that. Python is type checking is static analyzable only. all the other compile languages are static initializable, meaning that Go, Java, Code Clean, they only check types at compile time. And I think like I would be perfectly happy if PHP were to start with baby steps on generics like Go have done, but also not do any runtime checking. Like I would just be able to do something like this and have better auto completion instead of doing this crap. I think I would love PHP to just look at this in the serious matter, in the serious way, because at the minute, like we all doing this kind of stuff. And
It just like, by the way, do you always have like the 3 lines of doc blocks? Because like
yeah,
I just make them one liner because I
do this.
It's a little less noise, yeah, but
the thing is
but
that
still.
I'm gonna tell you why I do this, because
Sure,
I have a
yeah,
problem
yeah.
with my own eyes. Like my eyes are a little bit different from the regular people.
Oh, okay,
Meaning that
yeah.
if I were to see this, like one that has 3 lines and the other that have 1 line, it would just immediately triggers in my brain. Like I wouldn't be
Okay.
able to even parse this a little bit.
Okay, makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. So for me, like if doc blocks have 3 lines, all of them need to have 3 lines. If I am like putting a comma between traits in a space in between them as well, it needs to be always like this. Same goes with final classes. If I have only one final class, all of them need to be final. So it's just a question of consistency. Just triggers my brain a little bit. And still on the topic of type safety, I also don't like that the introduction of types is being fully done by PHP Stan at the minute. Like for example, we had this new list concept, which
Right.
we don't know if it will come to PHP ever, and I don't even know if it should. But now we also have a list, we have iterable, we have a traversable. There is a fucking ton of things that can be for reachable at the minute, and it just bugs me a little bit. The fact that we have a bunch of them, some of them were introduced by PHP Stan, and now we have to deal with them.
Yeah, and now imagine there's also some, which is less active in my feeling for the last years, but there used to be also some doing their own thing, and like 90%, 95% of syntax was like correct. And then here's PHP Storm in the middle, and people making issues. My Son syntax doesn't work. My PHP Stan syntax doesn't work.
Yeah.
And a big difference what people don't realize between PHP Storm and Psalm and PHP Stan is that PHP Storm needs to do it in real time without any lag. For some and PHP Stan, you're used to just running a script and waiting a couple seconds, a couple minutes, depending on the size of your code base to analyze your stuff. For PHP Stan, it must be instant. For PHP Storm, I mean, all these PHP names. And so that's a layer of complexity. And we try to bring some consistency here, but yeah,
something that makes sense. Something interesting, Brent, is that people on the chat are saying that this my obsession with 3 lines or versus 1 line. It's called obsessive compulsive disorder. And I was just thinking about one example where. So when I look at controllers, for example, for me the perfect order of things is always like request, model round binding, and then the action. And sometimes I'm validating a pull request of a new method to this controller that looks like this, and someone would put like the action in the first place, for example, which effectively also works. Like it's exactly the same thing, but for me, when I'm reviewing this pull request, it just immediately, it's the first thing I spot. Like I instantly spot that. Like I look at this. Oh shit! It's not a request first, and I'm saying the request should come first, model round binding after, and then action. And people are like, well, this is the same thing. Like, why are we over thinking about this? And I'm like, for me, it's not the same thing. Like everything needs to be by the by the rules. It's kind of a little bit crazy.
Yeah, but I wouldn't call it crazy. I wouldn't call it OCD. What I think that it is that it's years of experience in code bases where you just know that if things are consistent, it saves time.
Yeah.
And you just know the structure.
Yep.
And honestly, I don't have an opinion on whether it should be the request or the action first. But what I do have an opinion about is that it should be consistent within your project, within your team.
You see, Chad? I agree, dude. I honestly agree so much with you. Like, I have had in the past discussions about this topic, and I do love the fact that a new team member is coming. He knows exactly how to code the feature from the very first migration to the very last view, because all the code is consistency everywhere up to the order of parameters, and that is just something I truly love to
Yeah.
do. I want to talk
Yeah.
with you about casts, Brent. Okay, casts.
Yeah.
I'm doing something a little bit controversial. Okay, which is I specify the cast for every single column on my database. Okay,
Yeah.
there is a reason why I do this. It's because the database drivers, they behave differently depending of what database driver is you are
I
using.
see. Yeah.
So
Uh,
an ID, let's I'm using UIDs by default, which is another discussion by itself, but imagine that IDs are an integer and you are not using UIDs. Okay,
Yeah.
surprisingly enough, SQLite will return you back a string even though you have a number on the database, and that always bugged me. So what I do is that I'm super explicit about every single cast on my database, on my project, so there is no room for mistakes. What do you think about this in general?
I totally agree. Can I go on a small thought experiment with you? And I know
Absolutely.
this isn't possible, but let's just imagine a world, right? Um, Scroll to the top of your class because you had your properties there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have all your properties here because you need your static analysis auto completion on them. Now scroll back to your cast list.
Oh, I know. Just duplication.
And do you see some duplication there?
Yeah.
What if these were just PHP properties with a type? Then you would have your cast information, then you would have your static analysis, then
Yeah.
you would have your variable name. Again, that's just the nature of Active Record, basically.
No.
So there's
But I get you, dude. It would be also a collocation, right? Because you could do, okay, this is a name and is a string, so it's fully typed. And then, we also have potentially other stuff that belongs to this property, which you could do through attributes. And everything will be co-located on the property itself. Like everything that applies to the name, it's right here. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, I do agree with you. I don't think it's out of the world equation of having properties on Eloquent. I think it's something that potentially could be explorable.
yeah, maybe. Sorry, I was also reading the chat for a second. This is one of the main reasons I started tinkering with like building a framework from scratch because I wanted that. I wanted that as an ORM.
Yeah, you're building Tempest, so I think you are just putting some of your opinions on Tempest PHP in public properties on models is one of them, right? Are you using Active Record or Data Mapper?
It's more Data Mapper, but there is some Active Record stuff there in as well.
Can you do can you do this with Tempest PHP? Like find okay, so it's Active Record.
Yeah, but actually that's just a it is a shorthand for using the mapper underneath.
Oh,
basically.
I see. A facade, huh?
So-
I'm just joking with you.
It is using service location indeed. Yeah, it's
It
one
is?
of the few places. It's one of the few places where I think it makes sense.
Okay.
There, yeah.
All right. So one last thing on
Yes.
models. I wanted to speak with you about EUIDs.
Yeah.
I'm using EUIDs by default on models. Okay.
Okay.
And I have a reason about this. It's because I have experienced that at long term. So when your project goes to production, that is the need of hiding internal keys from the public.
Yeah.
Especially you want to hide how many. For example, let's say you have a very highly paid software that creates articles. You don't want to expose the IDs of those articles because you don't want your competitors to know how many articles you have. You don't want hackers to know what is the next ID, for example.
Yeah.
And something to prevent that from happening is just defaulting to UIDs all the time. And then you can just expose them even on the front end because the hacker cannot guess the next one. And I'm using UIDs by default. And I think there is no problem about that, except they are not super visible when you are using something like Squeal or when you want to actually visualize the database. That's the only issue.
Yeah, understand. I don't actually know what the state is of UID perform. I always say UID, but it's UUID. I know. What their performance is in MySQL databases these days. I remember at Spatie we did like this was before there was. I think it is now in MySQL as well, like a dedicated UID column type. But before you could bit shift your UIDs to end up with a more to sort them, basically, to make sure that they are all sorted linearly, and then you could index them, and then you could actually get huge performance benefits.
Yeah.
But this is years ago. I think this is now built into. I know it's built into Postgres.
Yep.
So yeah, but apart from that, it makes total sense to rely on UUID.
UUID, indeed. So
Binary keys and interest.
there is a misconception about UUIDs in general, where people think that UUIDs that are being used here are the ones from back in the days. So the UUIDs that come by default in Laravel, they are
Yeah.
easily indexable, meaning that they are
Yeah.
time sorted and everything. So
Yeah.
so the only problem about UUIDs is storage. Like, they occupy a little bit more than a regular integer. So for history tables or tables that have a billion records, you might want to be mindful about that and not use UIDs. That's the only thing. But besides that, you can just use UIDs easily by default for users, for articles of those users, because it will never be like a huge number. So UIDs by default are just good. Chat, we have more than 130 people on YouTube. Go all the way down so we can hit that 200 likes goal today. And by the way, chat, we have a new YouTube video on my channel. Okay, new YouTube video on my channel. Be sure to subscribe my main channel if you can. Okay, I'm trying to reach 25K by the end of the year, which will be very likely to be impossible. But with your help, I may actually reach that. All right. That being said, let's dive into another topic that you told me that you are the creator. Well, this is you. I see an article from you, or a video, I think, where
Oh.
where you mentioned that
I came prepared. Yes.
you
Yeah,
can,
go ahead.
that you mentioned that you are the author of the action pattern. Okay. So before you explain why you think you are the author of the action pattern, let me just say that I have learned the action pattern not through you, but maybe originally came through you. Okay. So the action pattern, the first time I heard from it was not actually called action pattern. It was called self-handling command bus. Okay. So
Yeah.
I was super into command bus, and I noticed that it's just fucking annoying to have to create an action for every single data class or whatever, so we're basically separating these arguments from the handle method itself. And I noticed that I have a one-to-one relation all the time. So what I start doing is implementing this thing called self-handling command bus, which was popularized by Taylor, I think, at some point, where instead of just having a class that will hold the data, just have a single one where the arguments can be provided on the handling method. So that was my very first contact with the action pattern. But I also remember that I have implemented one website, pinkery.com, using events, and it was such a fucking horrible experience because, I'm telling you, dude, like, honestly, I remember, like, receiving these events from various places and not understanding where they're coming from. And then I wanted to just not fire them. It was just a pain and confusing. So I want to know, what is your experience with the action pattern and where did it came from?
Okay. Do we still have 2 hours left? First things first, I totally get your pain with events. After Laravel Beyond CRUD, I wrote another book called Event Sourcing in Laravel, which was all about event-driven Laravel. There is so much more pain to deal with when you're in an indirect system like that, when you're using messages. But there is something to gain there. So in whenever it makes sense, events and just asynchronous messages in general can add value, but they come at a cost. That's just a side note. Let's talk about actions. I don't know if I really invented it. No, people were doing it before me, and here's why. But I did came up with the name. At least I think I pitched the name. I haven't heard anyone say it before me, but let me tell you how I came up with it. It was 2018. It was a rainy day, and I was working on one of these large code bases, and I was reading about functional programming with JavaScript. There was this, I don't know what the website is called, but there was this small hype at some point where functional programming in JavaScript became like the hot thing. And I did some more reading about it, and suddenly I saw, like, okay, I sometimes see code in my head and it's difficult to put it into words, but maybe I'm crazy as well.
No.
Just the way that data flowed through functions, and these functions themselves didn't have any state. They
Mm-hmm.
just did something. There was input, function, output. And that was such a like simple way of thinking about how data flowed through my app. And that was the starting point for me to refactor some of the things I was doing in controllers and on the model level and with event listeners, to refactor all of that into actions, small classes that got some input from somewhere, a typed object usually, uh, did something to that or with that data, and then gave some output, or in some cases didn't give output at all, depending on what you needed to do, right? And what I added on top of that, because that's basically just a function, right? The thing I added on top was is what you can see here, dependency injection.
Mm-hmm.
So that actions themselves could be really small, and testing them was really easy because you could just mock, you could make proper testing implementations of the interface, because
Mm-hmm.
we're all programming through the interface here. You could inject whatever you needed into that action, and then just make input, call, handle, or invoke, or whatever, execute, and make assertions on the output. And that was such a simple way of modeling the flow in my application. And then these were pretty complex flows that I had to deal with,
Mm-hmm.
complex business processes, Um, and that was just so mind-blowing to me. I said I came prepared because the very first time I wrote about this was I think it was 2018, but yeah, I could be wrong here. I did a small blog series called Laravel Beyond CRUD, and that eventually um, transformed into the book. And Taylor replied to to my tweet about actions. So because he wasn't on board first. I'll send you a link here. I don't know if you. Oh yeah,
Oh
there you
yeah.
go. Now the thing he replied to, the link in the tweet has been changed, and that's because the after Laravel Beyond CRUD got published, I removed the so yeah, do that first. So, but yeah, the link here is wrong because it redirects to a new website now because the
What
blog
does
post
it
original
mean, anemic domain model?
anemic domain model means an empty bag, basically something that doesn't have any internal state. But that's kind of that is the purpose of these actions. You separate functionality and data,
Mm-hmm.
and that is just such a to me it was so easy. It solved so many problems that I started writing about it and promoting it, and it eventually made it into the book. I didn't come up with this because essentially, all this is just a function basically at its
Yeah.
most purest form, but a function without side effects. That is to say, because you
Uh-huh.
get input, do something, and you return output, and there's no internal state in these classes changing. Then when I wrote about it, someone indeed, I think it was Matthias Novak, I think, who mentioned, hey, this is just a self-handling command. So I think he pitched that term,
Oh, that's why.
um,
Okay.
and that's where that came from. So anyway,
I mean, I
that's
did. For me, it's like maybe like I am way smarter than you two, but I'm gonna tell you like why do I think the action pattern is useful. So there's two main reasons, for my opinion. The first one is
Mhm.
that for example, let's just take this real example we see in front of us. Okay, we
Yeah,
have this
yeah,
thing called a delete user avatar, which is deleting the user is picture. Okay, so this will effectively remove the image from the storage,
yeah,
plus updating the avatar path to null. Okay,
yeah.
now there is two entry points on the app where things like this can happen. Right, the user may actually go to the avatar and delete it. The second one is that the user may delete his account. And when that happens, we also want to delete the avatar. What
Yeah.
I was end up doing all the time is that because I was not relying on actions, I would have this code duplicated all the time. And if I have duplicated code, means that I have to test the code twice, and I'll find myself just copy pasting stuff all the time on these controllers, So I thought, well, let's just abstract away that logic of deleting the avatar and put it on its own class, right? But
Mhm.
then we have a second problem, which is, well, but then I have to call the two actions when I have user destroy, for example, on the controller. I have to call both actions, the delete avatar and delete user. And I thought, well, maybe like deleting the avatar is part of the action of deleting a user. It's part of its job. So let's just inject that through the constructor and call it.
Mm.
And then there was a third problem, which is, well, if we call the user avatar, but then this fails, we can no longer just come back to a state that makes sense. And then I found out there's this beautiful thing called the transactions on databases, and this beautiful thing called the nested transactions, meaning that actions themselves can have DB transactions and another DB transactions, and only if the root one commits everything, things will be actually persistent on the database. Now, there is one gotcha into this. At scale, transactions can become problematic, and I have seen it. Okay? I have seen it, chat. Okay? So if you guys use transactions thinking that things will always work, that's not true. You might actually find issues with transactions in the future. So if you have an action that deals with a bazillion records, you may have to consider offload it outside of transactions, because transactions are not very good dealing with billion of records. Okay? They actually just may hang the database. Okay? So that's the reason why I love transactions in general.
Are you speaking from experience there, Nuno? Like,
Oh, I'm
they may
speaking.
hang it in
I
this-
am speaking from experience, Brand. I'm speaking from experience. I have seen it. I have seen it. I have slept over it, and I do know for a fact that transactions may become problematic if we're dealing with billions of records. So that's
Right.
like if you are deleting an history table, do not do it inside a transaction unless you want to froze all system. That's it. That's it. By the way, actions was one of my main findings in 2023, I think. Meaning that it's never too late to learn on development. Meaning that every single time you are developing web apps, you have always something to learn. For me, it was actions at some point, but there is many things we are doing and discussing today, including how we do our models with UIDs and why we use why don't we use fillables, which is another topic. Why I'm casting everything instead of just casting a few things. There are things that you can always learn when developing web apps. And when developing web apps brings you a bunch of knowledge. And I think actions was one of my main discoveries on how to organize scalable, maintainable over time, regular web applications. And I think this is common for Laravel, but also common for Tempest PHP, I assume, Brent, where you can just use actions to just develop your web applications.
Yeah, but what do you mean it's coming in Laravel? Because like it's just a class. There is nothing.
Yeah. By coming in Laravel is that it's doable in Laravel, just like it is on Tempest PHP or Symfony or
Sure. Yeah.
on.
I think the thing you need is a container that does auto wiring so that you can inject your actions in a controller, for example, and get all these dependencies. But all frameworks do that. By the way, I just realized something. We made a huge mistake. I just read a comment here from someone saying PHP is dead, bro. I mean, what are we doing here?
Where do you see
No.
that? PHP is dead? PHP is dead?
It's in. I mean, everything we're doing here is totally meaningless. We're not making any money with this, and we might as well just stop the stream here. I mean, PHP is dead, bro.
We do get some of those sometimes here on stream. But
yeah.
all my chat know that we are not dead, and we are more alive than ever. Okay, meaning that PHP. And I have done, Brent. I have been a JavaScript developer. I have been a Python developer. I have been a Ruby developer, and I do know
Sorry
for
that. Yeah.
and I do know for a fact that PHP is up to the latest and greatest features. And, every single time we discuss together, which is the fun part of it, is that we always highlight the things that could have been better or could have been better.
Oh, yeah.
But we have tons of shitload that is actually very good. And Juanito is saying that, wait, so then 80% of the web is dead? Well, here we go.
Most people say most people who say that PHP is dead will probably die before PHP.
Oh, my God.
It's such a good way of putting it.
Brent, do you know how much money the Laravel got as investment?
Yeah. What was it like? $10? No, some.
No,
was a little bit
57.
more, right?
57. And there is a
Dollars, right?
there is a comment on
Million or.
Yeah, $57 million. And there is a comment on YouTube that says, I think there is 57 million reasons why YouTube is not dead. Oh my God.
Yeah.
All right, we still have a lot to talk about, meaning I want to talk about fillables. I want to talk about controllers, form requests. I want to talk about like my stakes on compose.json, things like past PHP, type coverage, and many things like that. Bren, it's 2:10. I'm going to say let's do 10 to 20 minutes more and do a second part on this. If the stream reaches 200 likes, okay? We need to do that, chat. So all 140 people on YouTube, go all the way down and put like on this video if you can. Brent, I want to ask you, which testing framework are you using at the minute?
Oh. No, no, no. It's such a delicate question. Okay, so I did when I still worked at Spatie. Another not book but online course we did was testing Laravel, right?
Okay.
And so I did the PHP unit part, and Frick he did the pest part. And he really convinced me to try out pest. And then you years later, you and I had a stream as well on my channel where you explained pest, and I was still really impressed by it. But yeah, there wasn't enough like reason for me to switch to change what I was used to. So I stuck with PHP unit mostly because out of habit mainly. But now I have to admit, I don't know if you're gonna get angry at me, but last week or 2 weeks ago, I decided to just do another like fun Christmas holiday project and decided to oh, you know, have you seen that? I'm sorry.
So
And
I haven't seen it, but I have been told
yeah,
that you
yeah.
are
So
building your either your own framework or your own testing
yes.
utilities for Tempest. That got confused, but
No, yeah. It started as testing utilities for Tempest, but now it's a whole test runner that doesn't rely on anything as an experiment, as an exercise. This is
yeah.
not going to be something. So by all means, let's talk about Pest because I think it's really great.
Yeah, I mean, I want to just mainly highlight. I think you have seen many of the features that we offer that are super compelling, right?
Yeah,
So type
yeah.
coverage is one of them. Like
Yeah.
you can just literally ensure that every single piece of code you have is fully typed. Of course, things like the API itself is absolutely awesome. But have you seen like the recent the browser testing stuff?
The browser testing. I saw it fly by, so I know it's now a thing. I haven't looked into yet, but I think it's a crazy good feature to have.
Yeah,
because
but do you know
we're writing
why?
PHP.
Because
I-
because
ahead.
the biggest thing about browser testing in past PHP, and it's this is unique in the world, by the way. There is nothing like this on any other testing framework in the entire planet. Is the server serving requests is the same server as the one running the test, meaning that if you create the user, you can check after running like clicks on the browser and shit like that if the user is if that same user instance is authenticated as and this is like insanely useful in terms of browser testing, because otherwise you would have to come up with all sorts of craziness to check if the user is actually logged in.
Yeah.
You know, so just another example all the way down. Let's see, settings password. Is that a good example? Yeah. So creating a user using the Laravel factory, I can act as that user and then visit the website. So you don't need to use any workaround like actually refilling the form again and stuff like that. But it's also stuff into this browser testing, which is insanely useful. You can use this assert no smoke test, which will behind the scenes check if you don't have any console logs or JavaScript errors.
Really?
Yeah. So there is this stuff right here. We have accessibility testing as well, so you can do some stuff like this, which I'm not using here for some reason. But you can type assert no accessibility issues. So this will insert things like contrast.
This is really great.
Yeah, contrast, things like that, and it will tell you if you have a font super small or whatever. Plus is like browser testing in general, so you can visit something on mobile using iPhone XYZ or whatever. This stuff is actually like if past PHP was already good, this stuff it just make it fucking undeniably just the best one in the planet, you know?
And you know why? I was already impressed with when you came to my channel a year or so ago and you showed some of the newer features. But the thing is, when we're talking about testing PHP applications, there is so much more than testing PHP code itself, because we're building web applications, right? And this just bundles everything into one. So yeah, I'm actually really impressed. I hadn't looked into it too much in depth. Super cool.
Yeah, so we have now browser testing, and I'm cooking something now for Past v5. So this is top secret. I thought I would never come up with Past v5 because Patch v4 was such a huge undertaking, meaning that Patch v4 was such... Oh, by the way, there is also something impressive here that I forgot to show you, which is called assert matches, screenshot matches. So you can take a screenshot, and then the second one will just compare it. Anyways, I told, like, after releasing Pest before, I will never do another Pest release. Like, this was just too much. I spent like last 3 months working on this shit. It's just not worth, like, I'm working on this Pest release, but then I could have been doing 3 months of content on YouTube or whatever, or other stuff, really. I'm building my own SaaS and becoming billionaire and buy a Lambo. And I've just spent all my time building Pest before. But Marcel Posiot showed me something yesterday on Tuple that potentially I will use for Past V5, and it's as big as browser testing. So Past V5 may actually come this year, next year. I don't know. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, this year is gonna be like a bit tricky, I reckon. We're almost done here.
Yeah.
And you're gonna share now what it is, right? Because I mean, we're amongst friends here.
No. That's too many people here on the chat to just share that today. But Past V5 might come next year, depending of what I will arrange with Marcel Posiot, because he did a bunch of discoveries for Past, and I want to make sure he is part of the release, or we find an arrangement. Let's see how it goes. We are 1 hour in. Brent, I want to save the last part for the second stream. So we have many things to talk about, like how we name our controllers, how we structure our controllers, how do we code form requests, which is something I want to talk with you about as well. So many stuff here. Tooling, jobs, providers. I want to talk with you about your default on service providers. I have coded a package called Laravel Essentials, which does a bunch of this stuff for me. But there is a bunch of defaults in Laravel that I want to discuss with you and see if you agree on, including this beautiful thing, model on guard. So let's save that for the next live stream, okay?
Yeah.
Brent, thank you so much for coming today. And dude, I'm keen to do this again with you, a second part if you're up to it. And chat, this should be either a bi-weekly thing. Me and Brent, we are still trying to talk about this, but it could potentially be a bi-weekly, so every 2 weeks thing, or a every month thing. We are still yet to decide. It's kind of obvious that our energy is good because you have literally my brain on his head. It's so good, and I love that. And chat, if you guys appreciate today's live stream, be sure to go all the way down and click on the like on this video. Brent, thank you so much for coming once again. Chat, thank you so much for being on that side. Let's rate someone. Do you know what rate is, Brent?
No. Send them to another stream, right?
Yeah. So on Twitch, they have this feature where you can send all your viewership to a different stream. And what do I love to do is find people who are doing PHP already and
good.
And just
good
suddenly send 50 people like that, and they get surprised and absolutely awesome. We don't have anyone doing PHP today. We do have someone doing JavaScript, which, when there is no PHP, you just have to deal with it. All right, chat. Love you all. Brent, thank you so much. Catch you guys next time. Peace out. Boo.
Bye-bye.